Let's talk about the fourth and last of the four quadrants, structure. This is considering the external and collective perspective. It's often seen as the easiest part of transformation because most organizations are used to rolling out new tools, systems, organizational charts, and processes. When it comes to adapting structures, what matters most is transparency and clarity. And what usually then works very well is that relevant training is given, a clear and accessible documentation in an easy to understand language is provided, and dedicated support hotlines are available. When it comes to training, make sure you don't just deliver textbook knowledge and be careful when selecting subject matter experts as trainers, because a non-engaging training is usually not sustainable and effective. Maybe instead go for hands-on practice and interactive workshops. If you do need an expert, it's a good idea to pair them with someone who brings actual facilitation and training expertise if this person doesn't. Because anyone who's ever sat through a very dull technical training knows what a difference that makes. So far so good, but here's the but. As mentioned, in general, companies are pretty good in adjusting the structures. Still, I would like to add 3 important things. My first but is that typical traditional consultants come in, change some charts, tweak some processes, maybe implement tools and systems based on benchmark principles. Their expertise is the main driver, and that's exactly where transformation may fail. Why? Because it doesn't consider the internal knowledge of the organization. A good transformation involves the employees, addresses the real needs instead of just pushing out generic solutions. While it's sometimes totally appropriate to roll out a best practice solution, it should still genuinely fit the organization. Otherwise, there is huge potential in taking a much more iterative and integrative approach. My second but is that companies often only adjust the structure and forget everything else around it. The actual change process gets neglected, and this has a lot to do with the other 3 quadrants in the Four-Quadrant model. It doesn't mean you always need a super complex change management, but at the very least, you need to take time to identify your stakeholders, understand what the changes mean for them, and anticipate the resistance. And this shouldn't just focus on systems and processes, but also on behavior, skills, and mindset. Where are the gaps? Is training really the right solution? How fast and in what way will you communicate the changes? How do you bring people managers on board, because they are the key players in any transformation? Where are you people on the change curve? Taking the time for a few targeted workshops, stakeholder analysis, communication plans can really make a big difference between a quick rollout and one that's actually adopted. It's totally normal to lose 5 to 10% of the people in a change process, but if you're losing 50%, you basically have a transformation that failed. And my third part is that sometimes one structure element is adjusted, but it may actually depend on many others. For example, you may adjust the process, but did you also adjust the roles and responsibilities that come along? Just look out and be prepared to adjust all the barriers around too. So here's my main takeaway for this quadrant. Make sure you bring in clarity and transparency, but above all, remember that you're working with people. It's their behavior and mindset that will ultimately determine the success or failure of your transformation efforts. And be aware that each organization is a very complex and unique system with many dependencies and needs.